Today on the Daily Scoop podcast from the Scoop News Group, TTS Director Ann Lewis will step down from GSA, and a look inside DHS nominee Kristi Noem's record on cyber. It's Wednesday, November 13th, 2024. Welcome to the Daily Scoop podcast, where you'll hear the latest news and trends facing government leaders. I'm the host of the Daily Scoop podcast, Billy Mitchell. Thanks so much for joining me. Now let's get into today's top headlines. Ann Lewis, the Director of Technology Transformation Services and Deputy Commissioner of the Federal Acquisition Service, is leaving the General Services Administration after almost 2 years. Lewis will leave the agency on November 22nd, according to a Tuesday press release. Mukunda Penugonde, who currently serves as Deputy Director of TTS, will step in as Acting Director and Deputy Commissioner with Lewis gone. Lewis was tapped by the Biden administration in December of 2022 to serve at GSA after a lengthy career in the private sector, including as Chief Technology Officer at Next Street, a business advisory firm, and as CTO at the public policy advocacy group MoveOn. In a previous interview with FedScoop, Lewis said that after 15 years in the private sector, she was hungry for work that she felt was in line with her values. With TTS, Lewis has led efforts to use artificial intelligence in the federal government while supporting digital services initiatives that leverage large pools of data. During her time at GSA, Lewis prioritized workforce development and recruitment, telling FedScoop that college students or aspiring technologists should consider government as a career path. She pointed to the scale of government projects, noting that every project is going to touch millions, if not billions, of people. She was also part of efforts to bring on AI talent through programs like the U.S. Digital Corps and the Presidential Innovation Fellows, which recently welcomed AI-specific member cohorts. In other news, President-elect Donald Trump's selection of Kristi Noem to lead the Department of Homeland Security may bode poorly for the agency's cybersecurity grants to state and local governments, given her opposition to the program while serving as chief executive of her state. Trump will nominate the South Dakota governor to serve as secretary of DHS, numerous news outlets reported on Tuesday. Noem's administration in 2022 called DHS's combined $1 billion grant program wasteful spending by the federal government, when her state was one of only 2 in the nation not to seek any funding from it. In 2023, South Dakota was the lone holdout. DHS's budget isn't entirely the responsibility of its secretary, as the White House makes the budget request and Congress appropriates the funds, but a secretary who opposes sending cyber grants to states could have sway on the matter. However, Noem in other ways has promoted the cybersecurity industry and signed bills into law in her state meant to bolster cybersecurity there, and went as far as to call cybersecurity South Dakota's next big industry, saying that it makes a lot of sense for cybersecurity resources to be centered in the state. Noem touted Dakota State University as the first university to establish a PhD program in cyber operations and for its partnership with U.S. Army Cyber Command. She also talked up the state's growth in scientific and technical service jobs. And in March, Noem signed into law a bill that would devote $7 million to the state attorney general to create a cybersecurity services initiative for counties and municipalities in the state to protect their systems. For more news at the intersection of the federal government and technology, visit fedscoop.com. Thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of the Daily Scoop podcast, available on all podcast platforms. If you've already rated the podcast on your platform of choice, thanks so much. High ratings and good reviews of the show help more people to find it. The Daily Scoop podcast is a production of the Scoop News Group in Washington, D.C. Adam Butler and Carlin Fisher help put the show together, and the entire Scoop News Group team contributes. We'll be back tomorrow with more top headlines. Until then, I'm your host, Billy Mitchell. Thanks so much for listening.